Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. And I want to do this because I want to get into doing a lot more IRL sports things. I'm probably going to watch the draft live on my Twitch channel this year. I want to get more into diving deep into baseball, into football, news, things that are happening, the draft, free agency, stuff of that nature. And every year I usually put together a mock draft just for the fun of it. So I'll sit and I'll read through reports and scouting reports, and I'll watch film and the combine and all that stuff. And I usually just throw together a draft for the first round, sometimes first top 10 picks, just whatever I feel like doing, just for fun. But I thought this year, hey, why don't I actually put out a video of my mock draft and kind of the reasoning and the thinking behind what I think teams are going to do in the draft this year. Now, for this mock draft in particular, I'm not going to be going over trades. I might do trades in another video, like what I think potential trades are for this year in the NFL draft, because I think this year could be potentially a bloodbath for trades. I mean, anybody could be trading this year. I feel the Lions could trade out, how the Texans could trade out, Jets, Giants, Panthers, if maybe they don't like the quarterbacks that are there, and I don't think that they will. I mean, they could be trading out. I mean, it's potentially going to be insane. And I know the Saints, with their trade that they just had, people are saying that they're going to be trading up for a quarterback. I don't think they're going to be trading up for a quarterback. I think they're actually kind of set with what they have now with Jameis and Taysom and anybody else that they get. But I think if they do anything, they're going to probably be trading up for offensive linemen, because I think that the tackle class this year is actually a little deep. They look pretty good. So I think if anything's going to happen, that would happen. They would trade up for a tackle. They might be coming up to Detroit to try and get the tackle that they're absolutely in love with. So I might do that in another video. But for this video, if nobody makes trades, I just want to go over what I think could happen in the NFL draft this year. So I went over, watched combine footage, I watched film, I read scouting reports, weaknesses, strengths, the whole 9 yards. And this is where we're going to get into here for my round one mock draft 1.0, even though it's had several iterations already. I've been doing this for a few weeks now, but here we go. With the first pick, I think it's going to be dead set, easy, the most all-around, I think, pro-ready defensive lineman in the draft is Aiden Hutchinson. So when you watch actual film, I know people are saying, his arms aren't long. That's been going around a lot, but I think that he has, out of all the defensive linemen, the greatest determination. His motor is running at 140% at all times. He's not, I would say, the most elite pass rusher that the draft has, but he is the most well-rounded defensive end that is in the draft, I think, period. He's good against the run. He leverages offensive linemen very well with his strength and can shed blocks. He's good in pass rush. I think overall he is the best defensive lineman and potentially the best player in the draft this year. The Jags need an edge rusher. They get it with Aiden Hutchinson. I've been reading a lot of reports and mock drafts and scouting guides, and people are kind of in love with Trayvon Walker as well at number one. But I think the Jags, with all of the money that they've spent this offseason, I think that they're trying to make a push to be at least halfway legitimate this year. So I think that they take a safe bet, and I think Aiden Hutchinson is the safest bet that they can take at number one. I think that's who it's going to be. That's what I think. At number two, again, there's a lot of stuff going around. Is it Malik Willis? Do they take a tackle? I have seen some mock drafts have the Lions taking a tackle. I'm a Lions fan. Please, God, don't take a tackle. Looking at the tackles, it's like, man, I mean, this could be pretty good, and they may end up making some trades. I could see them ditching Deckard and bringing in a tackle. I mean, it could happen. But I think that they go biggest need, as a Lions fan watching them, the biggest need is edge rushing, getting more pressure on the quarterback. They have been absolutely abysmal for the past 5 years. I'm talking like bottom 10 for the last 5 years in getting to the quarterback. And I think the best edge rusher, the one that can pin his ears back and go after the quarterback at edge, is Kayvon Thibodeaux. So I think the Lions do go with him. I know all of the talk about him not working that hard. I think the pros is a different level, and I think MCDC and the defensive mindset there gets Kayvon just pinning his ears back and going after the quarterback. The man's an absolute, he's a freak athlete. He is a freak of nature. His initial burst off the line is insane. And if you watch film of him, he has great set of moves. He does come into problems where the lineman reacts to the move that he's given. That secondary move isn't quite there, and sometimes when he gets locked up, he gets just completely locked up and shut out. But that first move that he has is so dominant. And even, I mean, his burst off the line is so great that he can actually extend out. And I watched him in film bull rush tackles just with one arm. He comes in and he's so fast, and they're trying to react to his speed that he just pushes them over with one arm. Watching film of Thibodeaux was like, it was absolutely amazing to watch. Now, again, a lot of the film that you watch is just like good plays. So, I mean, when you go back and watch like games, there are instances where he's just completely just taken out of the play. And he's not the best against the run, but he is able. I don't think that he is an all-around defensive end like Hutchinson is. But at the end of the day, the Lions have a problem with getting after the quarterback. And when Kayvon, like I said, pins his ears back and just goes after the quarterback, he is extremely difficult to stop. And I think he's highly coachable at the next level as well. So, Kayvon at number 2. 2 edges to start it. What about Houston? I mean, they have a need legitimately, as PFF says, every position, which I think is really funny. But they do. They have a need at every position. But I think a big thing that they also struggle with is defensive line. And there is one guy that if you read a lot what scouts say or hear what scouts say, they absolutely love him for the first pick, even for the second pick. But he drops to the third, and the Texans, they take Travon Walker. Now, the reason that I have Travon at 3 and not 1 or 2, I think Aiden is the safest bet, and I think Kayvon is the best edge rusher in the draft. But Travon can play anywhere. When you watch film, he will drop back in coverage sometimes. He plays end. He rushes. He's pretty good against the run. He plays inside as well. He'll line up at defensive tackle, nose, over guard, and he'll make moves and create, play opportunities from that position as well. He plays anywhere and can play anywhere. He will fit any type of scheme, 3-4, 4-3, he can be molded by that. Very coachable, has an extremely high upside. And I think with Houston needing just so much defense and offense, I think that they go best player available. And I think Travon Walker is still best player available. Even with all of these guys on the board, I think that his upside and his versatility across the entire defensive line is much wanted at Houston, where they can pluck him out and just kind of put him wherever he's needed. And I think it's going to be a great addition to that Texas defense. So I think there's a run on edge or just defensive line here at the beginning. All 3 teams need them, and all 3 teams get them. So the Jets are another team that they have a lot of needs for this draft. That is for sure. But they just sank a pretty sizable investment at quarterback last year. And I think that they're going to do all they can to protect and give weapons. So when you're looking at the board, they need a tackle. Who's the best tackle available? To me, I think that the best tackle available for them to select at 4 is Ike Ekwonu. Now, if you read scouting reports and you watch film, the biggest knack on him is that his pass blocking isn't quite to the level of some of the other tackles in the draft. But I would say, because I watched progression from 2020, 2021, and you see a true, like, he's just ramping up. He has gotten better every single year in that category. And when it comes to his run blocking, this is one of the nastiest tackles I have seen in run blocking for a while. Like when you looked at Sewell last year and what, his film showed in the run game and what he was able to do for the Lions last year, I think Ike is on that same level, if not better than Sewell was, just by watching the film. You watch Ike and his motor is also one that it never stops. He will pancake a defensive lineman and he'll run up and just find anybody. He doesn't care who it is, linebacker, safety. He'll run out to the third level to hit a safety, even if it's not even remotely close to the play or the runner even getting up to that level. He goes out and he absolutely annihilates people. It was really fun just to watch him get out. He pulls really good. He gets out on screens really good. He gets his hands on somebody, and he is always just running down the field to find the next person to hit so that his running back, receiver, whoever it is, can go out and get that additional yard. And the Jets, they went out and got some players this year for the offensive line to help protect Zach, and I think Ike comes in and just fits right in just to help him out and keep him upright so that he can maybe show some of those just absolutely magical throws that he threw last year. He had some too, and also, in college, combine, pro day, all that stuff. So I think here they go and just try to protect the investment that they made last year, and he'll be a pivotal part in just that offensive line for a lot of years. Next up is the Giants, and honestly, I think that they could trade this pick out. They could probably either do 5 or 7. I think that it's going to be a coveted position for somebody to draft up to get an edge rusher or a tackle or even a corner at this spot at 5. I think if anybody's going to be trading up, though, it's probably going to be coming up for either a quarterback to get in front of Carolina. If people think that Carolina is going to take a quarterback, it's probably to come up and get a quarterback or maybe an offensive lineman. But I think this 5 pick, I'm sure the Giants are going to be getting a lot of calls for this 5 pick. But if they were to stay here, again, they have a huge need across the entire offensive line. So I think that they just take the next available offensive lineman, and that is Evan Neal. Now, in some instances, watching film, when you get into a pure speed edge rusher, Evan sometimes will just get beat on quick bursts to the outside. But I think that's something that he can definitely work on, especially at the next level. But overall, I mean, it wasn't like every play. It's not like as soon as a speed edge rusher came onto the field, like Evan Neal was just taken out completely. He's still, I think, probably the most well-rounded and best pass protector, or one of. I don't know. There's one guy a little bit later that I think is still better, but Evan Neal is probably the next one off the board, and he'll slot right in to the Giants' offensive line, a position that they have a lot of needs at. He'll slot in and be probably more than likely a cornerstone piece of that offensive line. Moving forward, either with Danny Dimes, I don't know how much longer that's going to last, or with another quarterback if they do end up maybe going after a quarterback in like next year's draft. Number 6. This is where a lot of people have Carolina taking a quarterback, whether that be Pickett. I've seen his name tossed around. I don't think they go Malik Willis. I think it would be probably Pickett, if anybody, to go here. But when you just listen to what people are saying about this quarterback class, it is one of the weakest quarterback classes like the NFL draft has had in the past like 30 years. That's what a lot of people are saying. And a lot of these teams that you see up here, the Jags, the Lions, the Jets, Giants, the Panthers, the Falcons too. A lot of these teams, they're going to be up here next year as well. Like, I don't see any like magical, like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden they win 10 games. I don't see that from a lot of these teams up here, especially the Falcons. They'll probably be right back down here. And next year's draft for quarterbacks is a lot better. Now, somebody might, if you fall in love with the guy, you fall in love with the guy. So you go for it if you do. And I would be 100% on board if I was a fan. If they drafted one of these guys, if they're in love with them, just be on board with it. But I think that Carolina will probably be gearing up for next year. Same with the Lions. Same with the Falcons. Giants. Jets. All these teams. So, in this position, again, they put in some work on the offensive line, but there is still one glaring need, and that is an offensive tackle. And I think that they go best offensive tackle available, and that is Charles Cross. So when I said that I think Evan Neal is probably the most well-rounded pass blocker, and I said, that actually was because of Charles Cross. This man's feet are extremely fast. He absolutely dominates at the line of scrimmage against all sorts. Edge rusher, moving back inside, bull rush. Like, it doesn't matter what you throw at him. His hands, his extension, and his footwork are very good for a left tackle. And I think that the Panthers, they put a lot of work into free agency, but their one glaring need is still tackle. And I think that they take Charles Cross here just to gear up for maybe a quarterback next year. If, Sam Darnold doesn't work out, which he probably won't. And I mean, the Panthers were one of the worst offensive lines last year in the league, if not the worst. It was bad. So they did some work in free agency. They still need a tackle. They go out, they get their tackle. And I mean, when I was really like putting together this draft, it's like, so I actually have 3 edge and then 3 tackles going off the board. But I think that this just falls in line with what the teams need and who the best players available are at those needs. We'll see what happens. I mean, could a quarterback go literally to almost any of these teams except for like Jets, Jags, but Panthers, yeah, Giants. I mean, maybe. I mean, if they're done with Danny Dimes, I mean, maybe, yeah. Texans probably won't. I think they kind of have an answer at least for now. Lions, absolutely. Falcons, absolutely. Like, quarterbacks can go in any of these positions. And I don't think that when the draft comes, these are going to be the people making these selections in the top 6. But 3 edge, 3 tackles. I feel pretty confident about it. And then they got their tackle that they need. Giants are back on the clock at 7. What's another need that they have? Edge rusher. And this is probably, I've seen him going a little bit higher as the days go by, like in mock drafts and what people are saying about him in articles and scouting reports and all that stuff. But I'm actually going to slide down here a little ways. And I think at number 7, the best edge rusher that is still available is Jermaine Johnson. And I think the Giants, if they do not trade out of one of these picks, and it may be a touch of a reach for a lot of people, but I think Jermaine Johnson at 7, he could sneak in above one of these 3. Thibodeau could drop, and to take his spot will be Jermaine Johnson. For me, I mean, you look at Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Walker, I think personally that those are the 3 best, but Jermaine Johnson is not far behind. And he's another one of those players who's just all around good off of the edge. Great in pass rush, good instincts, again, would drop down into some coverage. He has absolute elite level strength and length and can easily shed blocks to get into run support, off the edge, to the inside. It doesn't matter what it was. Elite strength and length just to throw people wherever he wants them to go. Didn't get locked up too much. He's an all-around great edge rusher. And I think when it comes to the Giants, they have needs. Need a tackle, need an edge rusher. They get Neal, they get Jermaine Johnson if they choose to stay here, and they just fill those needs that they have. Which brings us to 8. Again, another place that a quarterback could go. A quarterback could go at 8. Somebody could even, maybe, I doubt anybody at this point would be trading up, maybe to get in front of Seattle. But I mean, a quarterback could go here. I just don't think the quarterback class, I don't think anybody's going to come out here in the top 10. I don't. Again, somebody could fall in love, but I don't think it happens. And what are the Falcons going to do? They're going to gear up, I think, for next year. Unless Mariota is the answer, they're going to gear up for next year. And when you look at this year, I mean, Ridley's out. So you have a glaring hole now at wide receiver. But I don't think that you can have too few wide receivers. So I think the Falcons, they're going to gear up. And they're going to go out at number 8 and get Garrett Wilson. Again, I think the Falcons will be up here towards the top of the draft again next year. I don't think there's going to be like some magical resurgence where they win 10 games. I don't even know if they're going to win 6 games this year, if I'm being completely honest, just with all the needs that they have. And I think Garrett Wilson makes sense. They're going to gear up for next year. They're probably going to get their quarterback next year. And just think, next year, they'll have Pitts, Ridley, and Garrett Wilson. And then whoever's throwing the ball to them. If a quarterback can't succeed with those weapons, that would be pretty shocking to me. And with Garrett Wilson, you know, they say that speed doesn't always kill, but I really do think in his case, it absolutely does. Some people have Drake London up there above Garrett Wilson, but I think Garrett Wilson fits into Atlanta, especially when they're coming into next year, a lot better than London does. And I think that is now a need for him. I know PFF doesn't list it, but I think that they're going to be gearing up for a new quarterback next year when they draft one. Unless, again, Mariota just absolutely comes out and kills it. I just don't know if he stays healthy. And I think Garrett Wilson's a good answer and a good pick at number 8 for the Falcons. Which brings us to Seattle. Quarterback? Maybe. Tackle? Edge? I don't think they're going to, especially with the run on edges that we had earlier in the draft. They won't reach here. If one of them falls, if one of these 4 fall to them, they might go edge. But I think the Seattle Seahawks take Sauce Gardner. It was actually funny when I was reading scouting reports, I came across a couple that are like that Sauce Gardner has like troublesome friends and people are worried that he's going to get into trouble and stuff. And while that could happen, I do think that a lot of times that stuff's just kind of floated out there by scouts or by higher ups in teams. Like, he has troublesome friends. You don't want him. I always take that stuff with a grain of salt. And I think even with the corners that we have in this year's draft, I think Ahmad Sauce Gardner is the best corner in the draft. He's fast. He's long. He can recover amazingly. I mean, if he does get beat on a move, his initial first step from that and his recovery speed from that is pretty amazing to watch. I'm actually a little jealous of Cincinnati fans being able to watch this dude play football, because it was pretty cool to go back and watch film of him absolutely dominating people for an entire year. Honestly, for an entire career, completely. Just absolutely dominating. And not only does he dominate in the past, good at press, good at recovering, can keep up with anybody. His run support was absolutely phenomenal as well. He sheds off blocks easily from wide receivers. He gets low and he makes great tackles. And he has the strength, I think, to become an elite edge run stopper as well off of the corner position. I mean, I didn't see anything glaring. And the only thing I saw as a knock to him was people saying he has bad friends. So I think Seattle takes him here. I think he's the best corner in the draft, especially with Stingley coming off Liz Frank. I think Gardner is the surefire bet at corner, and I think it's great value for them at number 9, especially since the Giants didn't take him. I think that's a great pick right there for Seattle. Which brings us to the Jets' next pick. And again, like I said at 4, they're investing into Zach Wilson. I mean, they drafted him high, and they're going to give him what he needs to succeed. They gave him a tackle to protect him. Now they give him a wide receiver that he can throw to, and they go with Drake London. Now, the Jets, they definitely still need help along the defensive line, linebacker. I mean, they have needs at defense, but I think that there is a lot of depth that can be found, especially later in the draft. If they don't trade out of one of these positions and keep both of these, I think protection and weapon. Go all in. Go all in on the quarterback that you selected last year, which when you select them high, you usually do. And I think those are the 2 best picks for the Jets to come in and just give him all he needs to take that next step going into year 2. Drake London can go up and get it. And I think that he is a good fit for Seattle, especially if Zach struggles a little bit with kind of soaring balls. Drake London can go up and he'll just snatch it right out of the air. So I think that's a good fit for New York. I mean, I think both these picks give Zach what he needs to maybe take the next step into year 2. Which brings us to pick 11 and the Washington Commanders. It's going to be interesting to start saying that. But the Washington Commanders, they might, I think, go out and give Carson a weapon, another weapon. They might go out and maybe draft wide receiver here. But I think they draft need, and I think they draft, again, who I would say is probably the best player available at 11, and that is Kyle Hamilton. Now, it is a little scary because when you start digging in deep, I mean, you see the 40 time, the speed, the size. I think he floats a lot. He could be a safety. He could be a linebacker. He has really good instincts at safety, and I think that he's going to be a really good safety in the league. I don't think, like, with the Lions, people talking about drafting him at 2. Safeties, they don't go at 2. Like, edge rushers, tackles, like, all of these positions are a lot more important on the field. No offense to safeties. So I think 11 is probably a good spot for him. And I think Washington needs, they go out, they get Kyle Hamilton. Do they float him down into more of a linebacker role? I mean, I hope not, but I mean, I guess that could happen. I mean, anything's possible, but he is definitely one that he floats between those a lot. And I could see him going either way, but I think he is a good safety. And I think that Washington sticks him back there to use those instincts, go up, get balls, just get the picks. They'll get what they need later in the draft. There's a lot of depth at a lot of positions that they need, and I think that they can get them later. So now we're at number 12, Minnesota. I mean, they have needs for sure, but I think they go out and get who potentially could end up being the best corner in the draft. And I know a lot of people have Stingley going here or before, but I think the Vikings go out and get Trent McDuffie. A little undersized, but he definitely doesn't play like it. He has probably some of the best ball skills at corner in the draft, and he is absolutely the best run support up here towards the top end of these corners. His run support, he will run people over. He sheds off. He gets extremely low, centered, balanced. Doesn't really get shook a lot. Like, he doesn't fall for moves. He just goes in, wraps up. He'll take you out the legs. He'll get mid. Like, he is a very, very, very good run support on the edge. And honestly, when you look at the ball skills, and even though he's undersized, he plays like he is 6'4" out on the field. He looks really, really good. Washington also produces a lot of good corners. They were an extremely bad football team last year, and I just don't think, people should be judged overall on like how the team is playing, because there's a lot of things that go into that, and sometimes you get hung out to dry, things of that nature. But even with that, he still played extremely well. And I think with Stingley, I'll just do it. So I have him going next. To the Texans. I am so scared of the Liz Frank, because, and I'm sure like medical achievements have definitely gone in a positive direction, but you see a lot of people come back from Liz Frank and they're just not the same athlete. So I think Stingley kind of comes with a little bit of a boom bust potential there. But I think because of that, coming off the injury, I think that teams are probably going to be looking towards, Sauce Gardner and Trent McDuffie a little bit more than they will Stingley. And honestly, Houston might get an absolute steal here at 13. Because, he could, again, has the potential. That's what the draft all is all potential. But he has the potential to be an absolute elite corner at the next level. And they might get a steal here at 13. But I think he's going to slide because of the Liz Frank, that the Texans potentially are going to luck out here at number 13. But they draft somebody who probably shouldn't fall this far. This is a little bit of a flyer, but yeah, they get him at 13. Which brings us to Baltimore. They have needs as well along the defensive line. And some teams, you can look at the needs that they have, and some teams just draft best player available. But I think they go after probably the one player that I am most excited to watch, see what happens. At the Combine, he was great. Listening to interviews from him is absolutely phenomenal. And, he's just a great player altogether. So I think at 14, they actually take Jordan Davis out of Georgia. A lot of Georgia players, that's for sure. Their defense was absolutely outstanding. But, when you watch this guy, guys this big should not move this fast. Period. They shouldn't move this fast. But he does. He is lightning quick. He will run down a running back running down the sidelines, and there he is. Just, and his first step, like his first 10 yards is just lightning fast for a man this size. He shouldn't move this fast. And I think that freak athleticism, if coached up, could be absolutely elite at the next level. He'll beat you on the outside. He'll beat you on the inside. He was splitting double teams, all sorts of stuff, dude. He's just, mesmerizing to watch. I hope he does really good, because I just want to see what he's able to do at the next level. And I think Baltimore actually gets a steal here. With a lot of people moving more edge, I think they get an absolutely steal here and a good value pick at 14 with Jordan Davis. Which brings us to Philadelphia. Again, I don't think they stay here. I don't think 15 and 18. I don't think they keep both of these. But if they do, again, they have a need. They're going to go out and fill that need. And I think it's the best pick for them to make. And it's Devin Lloyd. Honestly, when it comes to Devin Lloyd, you have to be extremely picky to find faults in his game. Some people will say that he gets a little stiff dropping back into coverage, but he gets a little stiff. This man can do it all. Like, he is an all-around, do-it-all linebacker. And this just makes the most sense for him to go 15, especially with, what's happening towards the top of the board. And I think the Eagles don't take any chances. They could wait. If they keep both, they could wait and just maybe get him at 18 as well. Especially if they wanted to, go up and if they had a wide receiver in mind. And they think the Saints are going to take that wide receiver. They could take wide receiver here, but I think they just go out and get Devin Lloyd. Just get him at 15. The wide receiver that I think that they're going to take is going to drop to them more than likely at 18, and I think it fits better for them. So they get Devin Lloyd just to make sure nobody trades up, because again, I think that this year's draft is going to be insane. Devin Lloyd is worth every bit of a 15th pick. Could potentially be top 10 if it goes that route. Like, I could easily see him going to the Giants, going to Washington, going to the Lions. Maybe if they trade back, they could take him there. But I think they just get him just to be sure. But I could definitely see them going wide receiver here as well to give Jalen another weapon. But I don't think who's next at 16. I don't think they go out and get who I have later in the draft going, Burks. I think at 16, the Saints go out and get Jameson Williams. Now, the only reason why I think the Eagles probably don't go and get Jameson is mainly because they want a healthy wide receiver off the rip coming in to really test Jalen to see what he has. I think the Saints have a little bit more luxury just to kind of take a little wait and see approach. And with ACLs, it's not like it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, 5 years ago. I think ACLs don't really play as much of a factor anymore in recovery and what players look like coming back from ACL tears. He says he's going to be ready to go by the week 1. Maybe. I mean, that could definitely happen. But I think the Saints, because of the ACL, he drops. But I do think Jameson has the potential to be the best wide receiver out of this class. We'll just have to see how he comes back and looks off his ACL. But I think the system that he ran at Alabama fits the Saints more than it does Philadelphia. And I think that he works better in the Saints system. So if they go out and get wide receiver, they're going to go out and they're going to get Jameson Williams to pair him with Thomas and Kamara. And really just thinking about that is, think about it, it's really scary. Like, even if Jameis is throwing the ball, like, that play action game is going to be absolutely decimating if Williams comes back and brings the potential that he has. And at 17, Chargers have a need. Chargers going to fill. And I think that they go out at number 17 and take probably the nastiest, just brutal in your face, beat the hell out of you tackle. And that is Trevor Penning. This man's nasty on the field. I absolutely freaking love it. Now, I think the big knock against him is, lower competition at Northern Iowa. But, and sometimes he gets beat inside and on bull rushes, which is a little worrying watching some of his film and reading through reports. That's a little bit worrying, especially since it's coming up against Northern Iowa competition. But I think Penning comes in, slides into right tackle, and instantly can compete for the starting job. They have a need. They are going to go out and fill it. You're going to be sinking a lot of money and a lot of love into Herbert. You go out and get what you can to protect him. Everything else falls in place after that. And I think they go out and take. He's a bad man. If you go and watch film of this dude, he is a very, very bad man. And I think he'll fit right in, right tackle, just absolutely beating the shit out of people. And I hinted towards it a little bit. Again, I don't think the Eagles are going to want Jameson Williams. I think that they actually have their eyes on Treylon Burks. And I think he goes 18 to the Eagles. I think the way the Eagles are gearing up is this is Jalen's last dance. They're gonna give him another weapon that I think pairs very well in their offense, and they're gonna see what he does. If he does great. We'll get some more stuff next year with the picks that we've accumulated. If not, okay. Well, we got the pieces that we needed last year's draft. We're gonna use these picks and go up and get a quarterback, and then he'll have these weapons to throw to. And I think the Eagles, they already have their burner. They're not going to go defensive line. This would probably be a good place for like Devontae Wyatt. Cox is back. Fletcher Cox is back. 1-year deal. I mean, maybe they shore it up just in case. But I don't think they do. I think they go out and they get Treylon Burks. People are a little worried maybe about his speed, but the guy he goes up and gets every ball. He high points everything. He's great at that. They already have their burner. Burks can run great routes. He gets open. He goes up and he gets everything. So I think they go out and pair him with Devontae and Jalen, and I think it works really well. And Jalen, I don't have a problem with Jalen. I think that he's going to do completely fine. You give him another weapon in the offense, he's going to be completely fine. Could these interchange? Maybe. I mean, they might go up and get a wide receiver and wait for Devin Lloyd to come at 18. That could happen, but I think that he falls. I think Treylon falls to them, and they gladly take him. And now New Orleans, hey, they're back on the clock. If they don't use both these picks to trade up to go get a tackle, I think that they fill that need now. I think, again, if anything, they're going to use both these picks. They're going to trade up into here, and they're going to go get a tackle. If they don't, though, they're going to take somebody who's actually just insanely rising. And I think he is at his floor right now. His floor. And that is Bernard Reimann. If you watched this dude at the combine, he looked great. Old tight end, moved to tackle. You watched the film, also phenomenal. But I mean, this guy, he was a tight end 2 years ago. And last year in the last 6 games, didn't allow a single pressure. Now you could say in the MAC, and you would be right, but also not allowing a single pressure. That's pretty crazy. That's like you weren't beat in your last 6 games at all. And like I said, I think he's at his floor. Offensive line coaches are going to see his raw talent, his raw ability, his athleticism, and be like, that's what he did after 2 years at the position. Oh yeah, bring him in. We're going to coach him up. We're going to make him absolutely phenomenal. And they're going to continue to protect this play action that I think the Saints can get into. Like the run game is going to be great, and feeding the play action into like Thomas Williams, I think this is a match made in heaven. I think they go up and trade for a tackle, but if they keep it here, wide receiver, tackle, give Jameis all the weapons he needs to just go out and make this a high-flying offense again. Which brings us to number 20. Oh, boy. Oh, I think Pittsburgh's sitting here and like, we did it, guys. We didn't even have to do anything. We didn't do anything, and he dropped to us. And I think that's Malik Willis. I think he is the only quarterback that is going to go in the first round of the draft. And I think he goes to Pittsburgh. They were, I mean, you hear the reports of like they met with him like 10 times, took him out to eat, met all the staff. It's like, okay, dude, like coaches are flying out to watch him, you know. I think they just stand pat. Some people have them trading up potentially to take Malik Willis. I don't think they have to. I really don't. He has the most upside of all of the quarterbacks. They have Trubisky in place. I think Trubisky has a resurgence in Pittsburgh. If he doesn't, though, he'll be able to sit. Malik will be able to sit behind Mitch for a year, maybe even 2, and slide in and take over the offense. I think their biggest need is quarterback. I mean, just in case Trubisky doesn't work out. But the dude, it's sky's the limit with him. He could be great. He could be terrible. Footwork's still a problem. I know that the combine and the pro day, people gush over that stuff. And I know Liberty wasn't the greatest, but sometimes you just got to watch the film. And I don't know. With a lot of coaching, I think he could absolutely be something special just because of his arm is phenomenal. Athletically, he's spectacular. I think he'll fit in with Pittsburgh, and I think they'll be able to coach him up really nicely, especially with a year or two just kind of riding the pine, learning the game, working with the quarterback's coach, doing everything he needs to get into the right spot to just kind of be handed the keys to the car. I think they just stand pat, not do anything, and Malik Willis falls to him. Which brings us to the evil empire. New England Patriots. Could they trade out? Yeah. Will they? Probably. They probably won't even take this pick. They have a track record of just like, nah, we don't want anybody. We're just going to trade out. We'll find some stuff later. But if they do stick around at 21, I think they go with the best corner that's still available. And I know that these are both interchangeable with Booth and Elam. It could go either way. But I am going to stick with Andrew Booth. And the reason for this, I think Elam is a lot better in press. But I think Andrew Booth is just overall a better corner. So I think they take the best corner available, and that's Andrew Booth Jr. The dude's very physical, extremely coachable. He did get beat quite a bit last year. So you look at that and you're like, that's a little worrisome. But I still think that he has all of the intangibles and all of the skill set to be a better cornerback at the next level. I just think it's best player available at corner, and I think if the Pats stay here, they go with Andrew Booth. So pick 22. Man, Green Bay didn't need a wide receiver. Well, boy, oh boy, they sure do now. You're not going to replace Devontae Adams, that's for damn sure. But, I mean, you need a wide receiver now. And you take the best one that's still there, and that's Chris Olave. Dude is fast. Woo. He is fast as lightning. And, you know, when I put this together, I was like, man, I really don't know why I have Olave falling to 22. It's just kind of, I think, scheme fit, where the teams are, what they work with their current composition, and I think the Packers honestly just luck out, and Olave falls down to him at 22. I'm not even saying that, Burks and Williams are better than him. I think that the way that it works out, they just stand pat at 22, and they get a wide receiver. Again, not going to replace Adams, but gives at least Aaron another target, another toy in the wide receiver room. And I think that they just get lucky and get Olave here at 22. And then there was pick 23. Now, the Cardinals do have needs. And, if you look at trends, J.J. Watt will play a full year, miss half a year. Play a full year, miss half a year. So if that's the trend this year, he's going to play a full year. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the Cardinals, they edge their bets. They get a little depth. And they take George Karlaftis, the edge rusher out of Purdue. Another guy that when you pin his ears back and just tell him go after the quarterback, he does really good. He can beat you on the inside. He can beat you on the outside. He lacks a little bit of strength sometimes in bull rushing if needed, but he has a good move set, and I think that he is a great edge rusher. The big thing that he really struggles against is against the run. He's just not that great sealing the edge. But again, these are all things that you can teach at the next level, especially getting in like strength training, all of that stuff. You can definitely teach that at the next level. One thing that is really hard to teach is make somebody a good edge rusher. But I think George, he has that. He is a good edge rusher. Everything else you can kind of work with and teach over the course of however long it takes, really. And I think that the Cardinals, they take a need. Will the defensive line stay healthy? Maybe. I'm not going to edge my bets on that, though. I'm just going to take some depth, rotate them in as well. I take edge here, and I get George at 23. Again, another one that I think is very good value at 23 for the Cardinals. Fills a need, especially now. JJ, who knows? Maybe he retires. You just don't know. Will he stay healthy? Who knows? Get what you need. It's George. Cowboys are on the clock. They need interior line. They take the best interior lineman here. I know it's not the sexiest of picks in the world, but they pick Zion Johnson at 24. They get help at guard. This is a guy who is just instant drop-in starter week one. No problems. He is, I think, hands down the best guard in the draft. Cowboys need guard. You literally draft him and just put some pads and a helmet on and just go blop and just drop him in his guard. And he instantly starts for you day one. All around best interior lineman that money can buy. At the guard position, you just fill that need right here at 24. Easy peasy. Not much to say. Draft him, start him. That's all there is to it. So the Buffalo Bills, oh boy, 25. Do they have needs? Not really. If we're being honest, they are pretty much a complete team. Of course, there's always things that you can improve upon, but man, the Bills just look so good. But I will say this. What is one way to make an offense even more explosive? Well, you can just go out and get another target for one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So they go out, they get a guy who some say is undersized, but I'm sorry, I don't think that matters anymore, honestly, in the league. Especially when you see some of these guys who are undersized just go out and absolutely dominate teams with their explosiveness. This guy has that explosiveness. He will break you down. He will shake you out of your mind and absolutely leave you in the dust. And that is Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. Just think of this offense, just for a second, especially Bills fans. Just think of this offense. If you add in somebody like a Jahan Dotson, oh my God, track meet. It'll be a track meet, plain and simple. And I think Jahan Dotson is honestly probably. I think the only reason he slides is probably because of size, but I think he's uncoverable. This guy, he is explosive. And I think he fits right in with Buffalo just to make this Buffalo team get you into a track meet every time you play them. So 26, Titans. You know what the Titans are looking for? Interior linemen. You know who's the highest graded interior lineman in college football PFF history? It's Tyler Linderbaum. So what do the Titans do? They go out and draft him. And that's all that needs to be said. I mean, they need interior line. He's the best college football PFF has ever seen. So they go out, they get him. That's simple. So now the Bucks are on the clock. They do have some needs. They could go safety. They could go defensive line. That is definitely possible. I think they go guard, though. And I think they go the next best guard in the draft. And that is Kenyon Green. When you look at the combine, I would say he probably is not happy with the way his combine went. And it may be why he drops a little bit here. I mean, it's just guards usually aren't the sexiest picks in the first round, that's for sure. But the Bucks need a guard. They could go D-line, they could go safety. I think they go need, and they go Kenyon Green for sure. And the big reason for this is just versatility. I'm pretty sure Kenyon Green has played every single offensive line position. So he is very interchangeable across that offensive line. And I think that you can just drop him in and play him. Tackle, guard, center, doesn't matter. They drop him in wherever he fits. I think that versatility is what gets him drafted here at 27 for the Bucks. So now Pack is back on the map. They have a need for a little bit of depth along the defensive line. And I think just with uncertainty, contracts, the way that they works, everything that happens, they go out and get an absolute physical specimen who can sit as depth, progress, isn't like a drop in, instantly get us 10 sacks, or else you're a bust kind of thing. Gives a little depth, has a lot of upside. I think they draft defensive line here for that depth, and they go Boye Mafe out of Minnesota at the defensive line. I think that he definitely needs to progress in all facets of being edge, ceiling edge, run support, move set, all of it. But he is an absolute animal physically. And I think that athleticism goes a long ways. You can definitely teach other things. You can't teach athleticism. So I think Green Bay goes here for the depth. They go out and get Boye Mafe at 28. Fill a depth spot. They filled wide receiver early. And I think that they would be extremely happy with both these picks if they both fall to 22 and 28. And at 29, again, this is another one I'm looking at when I'm drafting, right? Like these iterations that I'm doing, I actually have him sliding, which is really weird. But I look at 29 and I'm like, how is this guy still here? But he is. And I feel confident about this draft that I'm putting out here. But he's still here. So the Chiefs are looking at their board and you're like, wait, Devontae Wyatt's still here? Oh, then we'll just go out and get Devontae Wyatt. That's easy. So they just go out and they just get him with the 29th pick, just like that. Now, I know he's not the sexiest pick, at the defensive line for the Chiefs, but I think that he is just a physical disruptor on the interior line, and that is going to work wonders for the Chiefs and their defensive line as a whole. Even if he works into a rotation, when he's on the field, he is a disruptor. And I think that's something that is very needed in order to create other opportunities for the defense. Do I think he gets home and gets you a ton of sacks in the interior? No. But he is going to draw a lot of attention, and he is going to free up a lot of space for the defense as a whole. And I think Devontae Wyatt is a great pick. And if this actually happens, he drops this far, I think the Chiefs would be ecstatic to get him at 29, because he could easily go up here, 15. Like, he could easily go to the Eagles. But I just think that they draft a little bit more need, and they don't need him anymore. Maybe next year, and he could definitely mix in with Fletcher, but I think he drops, and I think he drops all the way to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just say, yep, thank you. And since they have the next pick, I mean, we're going right back into the Chiefs. This one, probably a little bit of a flyer. I don't think people are going to have him going this high at all. But when you read the reports, when you watch his film, I think he was underutilized at the school that he went to. But this guy, when he gets the ball and his deep threat, you're not going to replace Hill. You're just not going to replace him. But you can go out and get somebody who's an absolute burner, gives you a lot more height, can go up and high point balls a lot. But not only that, this guy gets down the field. He blocks very well. He'll run 50 yards. Like, he'll be completely back here. He'll run the additional 50 yards catching everybody to make a block. That's just unreal determination, unreal work ethic. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he works really well in jet sweeps. He works really well in motion. That sounds familiar. I think the Chiefs maybe go out and reach here. But I think that they go out and at 30... Is he even on the first page? Is he even on the first page? I don't think he is. Okay, let's move to the second page. Oh, there he is. I think that they go out at 30 and they get Christian Watson. If this is the first time you're hearing about Christian Watson, I highly suggest you go and just look at Christian Watson. 4.3 speed, 6'4", 208, has a lot of drops. Sure. But he is this is actually the combine king 100%. But it's not only that. I'm just saying, just go watch film of Christian Watson. He's great in motion. He creates separation. He's extremely fast. He will go up and grab balls. Some of those drops that you see, quarterback had some extremely terrible passes. I think that they definitely underutilized him at North Dakota State. But just the sheer speed and the sheer determination in run game, getting down the field, never giving up on a play. He'll run you over. He'll juke you out. He'll spin around you. He'll stiff arm you to the ground. It doesn't matter. I think this fits the mold of what the Chiefs lost. Won't replace Hill, but it gives them a very, very similar type of player that is going to be an absolute burner at the next level. I think they take Christian Watson here at 30. Reach? Maybe. But I think they just go out and get their guy. So now we have the Bengals. Bengals are on the clock. What do the Bengals take? They put in a lot of work across the offensive line this year. I could see him going safety, especially since there's a lot of question marks at safety. With Bates and Bell and what they do and how contracts work out, if they're even going to be at the team next year. I think there's a lot of questions, which could lead them maybe going after somebody like Lewis Sine. But I think Kaiir Elam's here. I think he's available. I think that they take corner, and they go with Elam at 31. I talked a little bit about him. I don't think he is as good on like film watching. I don't think he's as good as Andrew Booth, but he could be. I mean, a lot of these corners, I mean, it's you're always drafting on potential. I think he's very good in the press game, and I think that the Bengals have a need to fill, and they fill it with Elam at corner at 31. I think they're getting good value here. He could go interchangeable. He could definitely go pick 21 to the Pats. I think the Pats go Booth. Elam falls to them. They take the best corner available, and they take Elam at 31 for the Bengals, which leaves us with the last pick, 32. And again, I get here at 32, and it's like, how is Nakobe Dean still here? And it comes down to needs and what I think those teams need the most. And again, a lot of teams, sometimes they just draft best player available. They will do that. They do that all the time. A lot of these teams could do that. But if this happens, this is like dream scenario as a Lions fan, you know, and maybe that's a little bit of the wishful thinking coming in. But if Nakobe Dean drops us, that would just be absolutely insane. And I think him sitting there, they're just like, if I was them, sprinting. I mean, you would get the fastest person in the room and sprint this pick up to the board. But they take Nakobe Dean at 32 out of Georgia. A lot of Georgia guys. I mean, that defense was absolutely stacked. And I mean, the Lions, they definitely have a need at Detroit. I mean, we're bringing in Gerard Davis again. That was a low point. I mean, and who knows? He was under Patricia, and we all know Matt Patricia. We all know Matt Patricia's defense. And boy, it was freaking awful. So Davis could come in and just have an absolute resurgence, but they need linebacker help. He struggles with run support, but I think the Lions' biggest struggle was pass defense out of the linebacker position. And Nakobe Dean can cover, I think, keep up with anybody. Running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, doesn't matter. He excels at pass defense. And I think that's something that the Lions desperately need at the linebacker position. They go, get him at 32, dust their hands, and it's all said and done. And that's that. That is the 32 round 1 picks I have. I've been working on this for a few weeks. I have watched too much film. And I've read too many of what do teams need? What are they looking for? Looking at other mock drafts and reading scouting reports, and I've done a lot. But I'm a football fan, and I love the draft. It's one of my favorite times of the year. So I have no problem going and doing this. But this is what I have for a 1 through 32 NFL draft of your first round. Don't think it stays this way because I think there's a lot of trades. If that's something you're interested to see, what kind of mock draft I have if trades go through, let me know. But this is where we sit. If everybody stays put, it isn't a bloodbath on draft day. These are the picks I think that occur 1 through 32. Let me know what you think. If you're one of the teams in here, let me know what you think of the pick. Let me know how big brain I am or how stupid I am down in the comments. If you made it this far and you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it. Helps the algorithm, helps my channel out. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm going to be getting into more IRL, sports stuff, just because I'm passionate about all the sports. And I want to work it in. I want to work it in. And I talk about sports every day on my stream. Why not talk about it here on the YouTube as well? So let me know what you think. But thank you for watching. Greatly appreciate you all for stopping by, especially if you made it this far. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And I'll be back. I'll catch you on the next one.